just skip a time when God's goodness and grace and His love for us is celebrated by His people. You want to be part of the celebration. You want to celebrate God and express your heart and your soul before God with an attitude of thanksgiving. Amen? When you sing, you want it to be for God's glory. Whatever you do, as a matter of fact, God's Word put it this way, whether you eat or you drink, why do you do that? Do all for the glory of God. Amen? There's no other better motivation than to do it for the glory of God. So do you do what you do for personal glory or to honor the Father? Or to honor the Lord? Is it to demonstrate that you can do things? You know, a lot of times, you know, you don't see that, you know, revealed on the surface. But when you look at the Bible and what it says about pride, you know, pride is a destructive thing. As a matter of fact, in Proverbs chapter 16 verse 18 says, pride goes before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. And then again in 1 Corinthians 10:12, what was said there? Wherefore, let him that thinks, or that thinketh, he standeth. Take heed, lest he fall. So before you point your finger on somebody and say, you know, look at what he's doing. Look at what he's doing. He said, pay attention first of all. Before you say things and point out other people's mistake, that you be careful because you might fall and do the same thing. It's a warning. Isn't that true? Right? That it's so easy for us to spot the problem of other people, but we can't see our own problem. It's so easy for us to say that person is so arrogant, but we can't recognize our own arrogance. Right? We can talk about how bad people are, but we don't see our own problem. So, but also on the flip side, you know, there are great benefits that come from humility. For example, in James chapter 4. So, humility is the opposite of pride. What does the Bible say about it? God resists the proud. And He gives grace. But He gives grace to the humble. So He resists the proud, and He gives grace to the humble. So if you are to choose between being proud and being humble, if you want to be blessed, amen, if you want God on your side, if you want God's favor, if you want the smile of God and the approval of His face, then what do? Humble yourselves before the Almighty. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you up. But you humble yourselves not because you want it to be lifted up. Amen? Just like, for example, some of the thoughts about giving. You know, when you give, you're blessed. When you give, God rewards you. But your motivation shouldn't be that of, all right, so if that is the case, then I'm going to give. You see how wrong it is to do that? Then you give, why? Because you want to get. No, you give to God, why? It is God's part to bless you, but you give because of your love for God. You give because you appreciate God. You give because you want to be a blessing, not to receive blessings. Because, you know, you don't have to worry about that. That is the part of God. But your part is to give from the heart. Your part is to serve from the heart. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse number 6, which I just quoted. He said, humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time. So there is a constant problem. And if you stop looking at other people and start looking at your heart, as I look at my heart, I see pride. Are you with me? Right? It's hard to deny that, because I said so many things, you know, to prove that point. Even in simple things, like I mentioned to you, selfie. You want, you know, it's all about you. You know, I'm not saying that to take a picture of yourself is wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I mentioned last Sunday, was it last Sunday? That if it gets to a point where it's a worship of yourself, and it's glory to self, that makes it wrong. There's nothing wrong with having pictures. I have pictures too. But like I said, I've seen Facebook, you know, album after album, it's just the face of that person and no one else. I mean, I think, you know, that's extreme, right? But there are albums like that. It's just that person's face and nothing else. Where's the mom? Where's the dad? Where's the child? Where's the friends? What other friends, you know? What if, for example, in times when you have like a group picture, and you see the picture now, what do you want to see first in that picture? In all honesty. Did I just prove the point? First. Get in a line, you want to be first. You want to be last. You want to be last? Huh. That's just a part of us. And that's why we need to deal with it on a daily basis. We wake up with this problem already. It's there. It's present in our nature, right? And then the next problem is this. There is often a people problem. Why is there a people problem that you see here? Well, let's look at verse 24. And when the 10, now the 2 were involved, were the 2? James and John. So there's 10 more, okay? When the 10 heard it, so obviously they were there in the huddle, okay? And they heard it. What was their reaction? And they were filled with, what's the word? Disappointment? Were they disappointed? Were they just angry? What's the word? It's a stronger term. Indignation. They were more than angry. They were more than upset. They just couldn't believe what they heard, right? They were listening there, they were there sitting there, and they were moved with indignation. They were sore displeased or filled with anger. So once again, this people problem, I have a problem with this too. So if I'm part of the 10, I'm now having a problem with this too. These 2 guys are too much. They always want to sit right next to Jesus, and now in eternity, in the kingdom, they want to do the same thing. This is not right. This is too much. So maybe they were angry that they were trying to promote themselves over them. Also maybe they were angry that they beat them to the punch. While, they're always the first ones. That's not fair. So either way, the disciples of Christ were not happy. And let me tell you that every church today has one major problem in common. People. Right? People. And please don't be that one. Because if your heart is right, you come here with an attitude of a servant. How can I be a blessing to you? How can I serve you? It's not about, what do you got there for me? Hey, that's not fair. Why do you have that? I don't have it. That's not fair. Right? Why do you have that title? I don't have that title. I remember a friend of mine who will not serve. And it's not in our church. Who will not serve? I said, why not? Because, I wanted to be a deacon. And the church did not, vote for me as a deacon. So I'm not going to serve. Really? But the only time you'd serve is because, it's when you're having that title like a deacon. So think of that kind of mentality, friends, And there are people that would add to the imperfections of the church. Why did I say that? Because you've often heard this said, that you stop looking for a perfect church. Because there's no church that is perfect. However, if you find a perfect church, what's the next thing? Don't join that church. Why? You're going to make it imperfect. Yeah. That's really the truth, There are people church hop because they're not content. They find the church, oh, that's wonderful, and they find something wrong. Oh man, I'm going to find another church, and that's a never-ending thing. How are you going to grow if you're like a grasshopper Christian, right? You're not going to grow because you're never going to get involved. And every time you see something wrong, and then you make a big thing out of it, then you don't want to go back there again. I was in Manila sitting with a pastor. We were eating. I randomly, came across Pastor Robert Gonzalez. You remember this tall guy? Robert Gonzalez with a family that sings. They have a young boy that plays guitar, John, And they're not grown up. They're part of Victory Ministry. Pastor Robert is a church that had grown from 200 to 2,000. And now we're starting a church in Makati. But, we were there. We were sitting with my brother. And my goodness, there's this lady who came and said she's also a Christian. So we asked, where do you go? So she mentioned the church. So I introduced, Pastor Robert as pastor of this church. And right away, immediate reaction right away. He said, no, not that church. So we were like, whoa. This is the first time we're meeting this person, especially with these two other pastors. And she was like, not that church. And she became, like you see in her face, and she's already angry. So Pastor Robert said, what happened? Let me know. No. He said, let me know, please, because I'm one of the pastors of that church. If there's something that we need to fix, we need to do something about it. Okay, fine. He said, first time I attended church, the first person I met handed me a tithe envelope, and I don't like that. And that's it. And she will not go into any other Victory Every Nation church in the world. That's it. I go to that church.